Hello friends, welcome to my YouTube channel The Codes, and I am Shwetab. Today I am going to discuss with you some basic concepts of costing. What is costing? The cost means the amount of expense incurred on specified things or activities. It means to say that you have spent some money to making some raw material item to a finished product. The amount which you have spent in making a complete finished product is the actual cost of the product. Or in the monetary terms you can say that the amount of resources used for manufacturing goods or rendering services. It means that the amount of raw material you have invested, the amount of labor you have invested, the amount of other charges you have invested, the total sum up value is the cost of the final product, which we are going to discuss in more detail in our next sheet. So friends, let us discuss the basic concept of costings. I am taking an example. Suppose friend, if you're going to make a ceiling fan, or you are having some business of a ceiling fan where you are going to manufacture a fan. So what the things you are needed? A raw material, a labor, and other incidental expenses. The raw material can be steel. The labor can be the workers who are working in your shop for the manufacturing of a fan, and other incidental expenses you can say that the amount you have invested other than raw material and labor to cope up the final production of a fan is that charges. So friends, above 3 points together constitute the cost of a manufacturing: a raw material, which is a basic need to manufacture a fan; a labor, who is going to operate the machine; and other expenses, which can be a supporting expenses rather than labor and raw material to cope up a final product. So these three above components are the basic of costings. You can finalize the cost of your product with above three components. So as you can see in the slide, the cost of product equals to raw material plus labor plus other expenses. Now the friends, we are going to discuss in detail with the element of costings. What are the different elements of costing which in actual speak up the cost of a product? The cost of production and manufacturing comprises of various components. As I told you earlier, it's material, it's a raw material which we are using to make a final product. Second is labor, the workers who are working in the factories to convert the raw material to final products. And the third element is expenses. Other than material and labor, the other expenses which we are charging for the finalization of a product is the expenses. The first one is material. To manufacture a product, a raw material is required, and you can say that a raw material from which the final product is being made is called a direct material. For an example, just in the previous slide I told you, if we are going to manufacture a ceiling fan, so what is the basic raw material we are using? Most probably we are using steels for manufacturing of fan. So the steel is the direct material which we are using for the manufacturing of ceiling fan. As you can see the examples, raw material, the processed material, the semi-finished steels you can use, and other components you can use are the direct material. Some materials which are helping us, which are helping for the finalization of your product, but they are not the part of your final product, is called the indirect materials. Example, oils, hand gloves, stationaries. As workers are using oils, they are using hand gloves during manufacturing process. Stationaries as we are using in our various supporting department. So these are the indirect materials which are being used for the manufacturing of product. So it is the first important component of a costing which is to be kept in mind when we are finalizing a cost of a product, materials. Let's move to second one. The second and the most important part is labor. It is the most important component of the costing. As you can see, the labor is the main component of costing. For conversion of a raw material to a finished good, a human resource is required. For running a machine, a human resource is required. So that human resource worked as a labor in different factories for making a final product, for manufacturing of goods from raw material to finished items. Here also you can see there are two ways in labors are supporting, directly and indirectly. So direct labors are those peoples who are working on machines for performing their action, for making a product and directly doing the production in the industries on the shop floor is a direct labor. For example, machine operator, the paint shop operator, and other workers who are operating machines are called as a direct labor. And friends, the indirect labor is also involved, who is supporting the manufacturing of a product. Example, the peoples who are buying the raw material for us, the peoples who are taking orders from the customers, the peoples who are planning the shop floors, the peoples who are guiding the workers down floors for their working. These all peoples are indirectly supporting the workers on the shop floor for the finalization of a product, and these peoples are called indirect labors. The third element is expenses. Friends, suppose a cost of a component is a 10 rupees, out of which the raw material cost is 3 rupees and 4 rupees is the labor cost, and the remaining 3 rupees you can say is the expenses, which is the part of the your cost of the product. It can be various way of expenses. Buying a machine, suppose you are getting some new orders for which you have to buy a machine, so you will be including the cost of machine also in your product. You're buying a tool, you're buying a die, you're somewhere you are procuring a special material for which you have to pay a air freight or some special road freight for the material. All these expenses are the part of the costing of a component. All indirect cost other than indirect material and indirect labor termed as indirect expenses. Suppose, for an example, friends, you are running your factory on a lease. You have to pay the rent for it. You have to pay the insurance of your machines and the depreciation on the fixed assets. All these terms are known as indirect expenses. Friends, so the major three parts of costing is raw material, labor, and expenses. Friends, here what I'm sharing with you is just the basic of the costing. We will be going in detailed discussion of each and every part of the costing in our next slide or next video. Definitely, I am going to share with you the detailed discussion of the costing. Friends, if you liked my video, please do share and subscribe with others.